All right. Hi, everybody. It's a great day. This is Gavin Mehl. We got Michael Middleton back on with us today. He's down in Anarchapulco with our friend Raphael at the big event down there and doing everything about blockchain, BSV, Bitcoin, and just on absolutely on fire, Michael. So how you doing?
I'm doing great, Gavin. And by the way, happy Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2024, live from Acapulco.
Looks like you got your red on. So happy Valentine's Day to you. So
Thank you.
really, yeah, I'll let you have the floor and just tell me
Okay.
all about you're at this exciting event down there with Raphael and the Anarchapulco, and sounds like he gave a great speech today.
Good.
Would love to learn more about what's going on down there with all the people. So the floor is
All right.
yours.
I'd be happy to talk about it. Well, first of all, the event's amazing. The people here are, and I came to the event in 2017. I came to the event in 2018. And the people here, as well as the space, are moving very, very fast now. And so I'll give you an example. So we had an earthquake the other night. It was a 5, woke us all up at like 3 in the morning. So there was a guy doing a podcast. I think his name is Patrick from TNT. So I'm I'm sitting back in the audience and he's doing this wonderful podcast. And near the end, he threw out, talked about the earthquake. We talked about the hurricane the planned hurricane that hit down here. And so I said, there was a hurricane in 2017 as well. He said, why don't you come up and talk about it? So I went live on his podcast. So here's what happened in 2017. Do you know who Big Swear is? Big Swear
Of
is
course,
another
yeah.
podcaster. He's
He's
into
he's friends of
silver.
Cliff High. Yeah.
Yes, friends of Cliff High. And I was wearing a Cliff High shirt all day today, and I followed Big Swear for a long time. He's very knowledgeable, especially when it comes to silver. So Big Swear was down there in 2017, and he was doing one of the workshops. Well, I went and introduced myself to him, and as he was sitting down with his friend, and as I introduced myself, and it was a very nice hotel. And as I introduced myself, we had a 7.5 earthquake hit, like as I'm shaking his hand. And I could see the panic in his face because he's never been through an earthquake. Well, I'm from California. I've been through quite a few earthquakes. So, I kind of laughed and I said, he goes, what do I do? I said, just sit still. He goes, I don't need to get out. I said, no, just relax. It'll be over soon. It rock and rolled for a good 20 seconds. And then he was there with his friend. So ever since that day, he's called me Earthquake Mike, right? So now I've followed Bix Weir, Road to Route A, for a long time. He's been talking about the silver, thing for a while, and he's been um, advising people to get into Veritasium, which of course I agree with, and Litecoin and different things. But I don't think he ever really caught on to the BSV. And I tried to talk to him about that, but somehow it just never got through. So anyway, that's the antidote that I use to get in front of the camera and talk. And so that's going to be on Patrick's, and I'll be doing I think a podcast tomorrow. We do have some problems with um, being in Mexico with power going in and out and things like that. And of course, I have to bring all my equipment and try and use theirs. So everyone's very friendly. We get to share each other's equipment, so it works very well.
Nice. Well,
Um,
so tell me about the this sounds like Raphael is killing it down there. He gave a great talk. What's some of the cutting edge things that are happening
All
or
right.
that
So
he's
here's what
doing?
I learned from Raphael, and I kind of knew this before, but so what Raphael has done is, as being a dev in BSV, right? He left BSV to go to BTC because that's where all the liquidity is. And he and others taught them how to, what he's going to say is turn on the computer of BTC, right? And because there's so much liquidity in BTC, and he learned how to create ordinals on BSV, he went to BTC and he turned on their computer. So before that, everyone was just trading one pink computer for a yellow computer or whatever. And we were just trading and not really using the computer power behind Bitcoin. We were just using the idea of trading Bitcoin through exchanges. And so what he did is, he just this last year, he turned on the ordinals on BTC, and he basically said we took over their blockchain. They went from having like 50 to 80% of all transactions now on the BTC blockchain are of the ordinal variety. And so, you can trade those, and there's a lot of money to be made. And he also apparently did it on the Doge blockchain. And I think he also said there was one other one. So they've gone from blockchain to blockchain and show these people how to turn on the power of Bitcoin. And that was very exciting to see. And he gave a speech. So those who want to see it can go to Anarchapulco and just subscribe for the online and see all the people that are giving talks and speeches. It's really cool.
Wow. Nice. Sounds freaking amazing. Very cutting edge, and sounds like he's gone taking ordinals to the next level with BTC, and now completely. It's just a huge movement down there. So,
So one
what
other
else?
thing I'd like to say, I think that I heard today, because I've been talking to a lot of people. Kurt is one of them over at CoinGeek.com, and they've been testing, and I think they're up to either 1.5 million or 2 million transactions a second on the test net for BSV. So it's very, very fast. I mean, you're talking, and this is exactly what Craig Wright has been talking about, how, scaling and with the MetaNet and the meta node, or however you want to call it. I think it's meta node that they're doing, or Terranode, excuse me, Terranode is what they're doing now.
Wow. Sounds like it's just going to the next level right now. Everything's lining up, so
Yes, everything's lining up. It's still a long way to go for it's still very early in the game for, I think we're only 15 years into this new technology. But it's definitely coming. And not only is it this new technology, but there's a new consciousness rising. People are aware that they need to, just be in their body and be at peace with themselves. And it's like, and understand that we're living in a matrix and not to take things too seriously, right? We're so serious about life, which life can be serious, but it really isn't. If you live in the present moment, you can have a good time. And, when it requires to be serious, be serious. But most of the time, you should be having a good time.
absolutely, you got to have a good time in life. It's all about. So
Yeah.
it seems like this, things are really moving like a lot of momentum down there in
Yes, sir.
Anarchapulco. And I mean, can you tell us anything else that you've learned?
Yeah. So what I can tell you is this. So I had a certain number of BSV that were locked up on the um, Exodus wallet. And that for those who have been trying that do have BSV locked up, I mean, Exodus wallet is a great wallet. You can swap and you can trade almost any cryptocurrency on there. But for something happened several months ago, at least several months ago, where whatever BSV you had on there, they say that it's safe, but you can't trade it and you can't pull it off unless you go and follow this certain protocol to get it off. And this protocol was provided by Kurt of CoinGeek. And so I followed it with my IT guy. We followed it to the letter, and we actually ended up having to pull the private key and then put it on, a desktop from the phone, and it worked. We went to the Electrum wallet and it worked. So we pulled the BSV off. And then from there, from the Electrum wallet, I was either to cape it or switch it to a new one, which I did. I think it was you actually that taught me about Rock Wallet, which I think is a great thing. And so I now have found that even though BSV is hard to get and it's hard to hold, it can be done. And like you said, just get at least one BSV for the future. I think more than one is best, but I think that's what everyone should do. And just be prepared for the future. So to answer your question fully, that's something for those who want to know about it. They can follow Kurt over at CoinGeek, and he's the one who actually came up with an answer to somebody. And so, if, for any of the listeners who do have BSV that's locked up in an Exodus wallet, there's a solution to get it out, because it's have not lost you haven't lost your coins or your money. At least I didn't. So, and it was scary because when you can't access your money, it's like the bank closures in the 20s and 30s. It's like, are you going to get your money? Or even what Greece and what was it, 2003 or what it was? I can't remember what year it was, where Greece locked up people's money and then everyone took like a haircut,
Mm-hmm.
to get the money back.
Yeah, well, that's good. Thanks for the info on Exodus. And people can go follow Kurt Walker Jr. on Twitter and also on CoinGeek on YouTube to learn more about that.
Yes.
What's it like down there in Acapulco? What's there? I heard that they had a hurricane, and how are things doing down there?
Oh, it's crazy. First of all, it's hot. It's beautiful. It's very organic. So when I went in 17 and 18, we were at this plush, hotel with interlocking swimming pools, big conference rooms, right? It's nothing like that anymore. We're like, uh, we're along like the highway right on the ocean, right? Down the street from there in Acapulco, and we're like in the jungle, let's say. Everything is a maze from walking from one place to another, very organic. Out in the grass, they had an opening ceremony with, very spiritual, just really nice. So it's a lot more of an organic experience, um, kind of like back to nature. Not that it wasn't nice before at the hotel, but it's kind of like out of the hotel, and especially since the hurricane hit, you see trees knocked down everywhere, but all the people, and of course Jeff's team, Jeff Berwick's team, and all the Anarchapulco team just came in, and their signs are all over town. I mean, the town just loves these people. They've been here for 10 years. So Anarchapulco is part of this town.
Jeff
And
Berwick, and is Max Egan down there?
Max Egan is down there. There's a place called, I think it's called the Crow's Nest, and it's very hard to find these places. Like it's not like United States big sign. There's a sign, and you kind of got to know where you're going. And when I first got here, I was a volunteer. Like I didn't sign up for anything right away. So the place where I went to, I couldn't even find it. I couldn't. And the cab driver drove me up there, it was a lock on the door, and I'm banging on the door. There's no one there, and it looked like a war zone. And I thought, oh, did I make a mistake? Well, sure enough, I found some people, and eventually I got in there, and I spent a day or two because I started as a volunteer, but then I eventually did sign up to get a room and became a VIP like I used to be, because I like to know what's going on the grassroots, what the people are doing, how everyone's doing, and then of course I have a great understanding of Bitcoin in itself. So there was one gentleman I ran across, and he had a pretty good amount of Bitcoin, and he bought it in 2016, and he bought it before the split, right? And the forks. So he didn't even realize that he's got not only BTC, but BCH and BSV and BTG, which is Bitcoin Gold, and BTD, which is Bitcoin Diamond. He doesn't know he's got all this extra money that he can go collect. So he
Hmm,
was very interested in,
very cool.
yeah.
Very cool.
So
So tell me more about the locals. I mean, how have you talked to the locals at all down there, and how are they doing after this hurricane? Is
You
there
know, they're awesome, and I'll tell you why. The locals here, the way they build like the everything, it's built like concrete mostly. So when the hurricane comes, most of that stuff, it doesn't knock the concrete over, right? But a lot of the poorer locals that are inland, everything just gets destroyed. So the people at the bottom of the economic spectrum, they take it the worst, and they're already living. I think it's like 1/20th of, when we come from the United States with our dollar, we get, I think, 15 or 16 to 1 of their pesos. And it used to be more, but the peso is strengthened a little bit. But I mean, a lot of these locals work for, just a certain number of pesos a day. I was walking to the event today, and there was a guy selling Aranjo, orange juice, and he gets a little bit of pesos, and all day long he's just driving up and down trying to sell orange juice to make a living. And that's great. I mean, however you make a living, that's wonderful. But, so many people on the planet are struggling to get by while the people at the top are, basically feeding off of us.
so did anyone die during the hurricane?
Not that I know of. I
Oh,
know
that's
that like, they
good.
had they had like
Oh,
200-mile-an-hour winds. And by the way, the hurricane came directly for Acapulco. And if you watch Jeff Berwick's speech about it, it came out of nowhere, and it didn't really have a lot of rain, and there weren't a lot of warnings, and it just hit Acapulco like kind of right before the annual event.
wow. So that's
So
amazing that people survived. That just incredible that.
and to see all the team, and there are so many people dedicated, like they dedicated their life to, the purpose of what's going on here. And I remember in 2017 we had a crypto bull run, And, there were so many people and there was a lot of drinking going on. Everyone was happy. I just got into crypto. And of course, I was one of them. I get it. I was part of the celebration. But this time it's different. This time we're seeing another bull run, right? But the people are much more reserved, and I'm going to say spiritually inclined. They're much more aware of the status of the world and the people that are trying to control or, let's say, enslave us. So there's a much greater awareness and a much, even though there's a lightheartedness and there's a like a conscious awareness of what's happening, um, they're much more serious about that part, and they're everyone's backing away from the drinking. Last time in 17, I remember just drinking everyone. Now it's not that a certain people don't. It's not like they don't have a good time, but it's not a focus anymore. Most
Hmm.
people are pretty sober, and that's the theme of this year. It's reborn, and it has a theme of the phoenix, which of course is very similar to the dragon that is the Satoshi dragon. So it kind of is all meshing together as far as I'm concerned.
Hmm. The Phoenix is the theme. That's interesting, huh? Yeah,
Yeah.
I had an interview with Crypto Rick yesterday, and he really did a deep dive on the Phoenix, as it was. I believe it was on the Bitcoin, the Economist magazine. Was it on the Economist magazine, the
It
Phoenix?
was,
And
and I think it was 1998, and it was holding a Bitcoin like with the number one and a zero next to it, and he did a whole dive of that. I
yeah,
think you
he
remember.
said
Yeah,
that it was also had the number 2018, the year 2018, which is the year that BSV was forked from. They
and I
came
think it
about.
even said a new world currency was coming, and
Yeah,
so
he was breaking all the
yes,
numbers down. Really interesting about the Phoenix stuff. And this is really, it's just fascinating. It's going to come up. I'll post it on very, very soon. So
yeah. I think I saw that video and I was very, very impressed because I'm a numbers guy and obviously this guy is too, but he took it to a whole new level. And I not only did he come up with the original 2018 magazine with the Phoenix, but I think he did a dive into like a magazine 10 months later that had another cover that also tied into like predictive stuff that was put out there. So that's very interesting.
yeah,
I'm,
one
I'm
of the
looking
things
forward to see that.
that's really promising, and when people watch that video when it comes out, we never got into this, but I'll just kind of go into it briefly, recap on it. And it seems dark because he's claiming that according to all the deep dives. I mean, he's going into it from a much more spiritual and number perspective than I've ever seen before. But he's saying that it's going to be the base layer. There's no question about it, and that Craig's going to win the court case. He's like making all these, and there's no doubt about it. He says it's planned. He's like, he broke it down in a numbers perspective. He says, look at these numbers. There's no way these are accidental. It's all going to happen the way that the date of the trial, when the trial took place, is starting, the names of the people, like Craig Wright, Satoshi, all of the certain numbers that line up. But what's important is that it's kind of discouraging to think, oh, well, so they're going to track us. His claim is, well, they're going to have the space layer, and well, we're not going to have privacy anymore. Everything's going to be IPv6. Every single thing's going to have a Bitcoin address, a BSV address. He's actually says it's going to be called BIT. They're going to change the name. That's what he claims. That everyone's going to have a bit address. I said, okay, well, that didn't sound good. And then I'm thinking, well, wait a second. Does that mean that we'll be able to track all of the anonymous transactions too? All the derivative transactions, all of the banking transactions,
Right.
all of our public servants transactions? Because that's the tracking that I want.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it sounds like, it can all fit together.
Let me take off on everything you just said. So apparently, one of the ordinals or the things that Raphael's working on is something called bitmaps or something. Something so that starts with bits too. Some of
Bitmaps.
the
Yeah.
bitmaps. So something's being created right now with that. And to be
Bitmaps
honest,
is actually a virtual. I actually was. Sorry to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
I did a ton of what's called minting on bitmaps.
Mining,
Whatever it is. What?
mining,
Not mining, but
it's minting. Okay,
you. I think it's minting, where you take the thing and you make it. It's literally all you had to pay was the transaction fees on BTC. So
okay.
I was actually at a conference at that time when it was starting, and so I was like, I'm literally in my hotel room, like sitting on the computer doing that for like 2 days straight. So and then I just forgot about it. But supposedly Bitmap, it's the virtual reality built on Bitcoin.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that, yeah? So it's pretty. It's like a land. It's the VR. The people who want to live inside of a computer, with the headset on, it's supposedly they can.
Well, and that's what a lot of the people here are saying, especially Raphael, is don't do that. Don't get into that virtual world. Like you want to take advantage of that, but you want to live. So after Raphael gave his speech today, I talked to him for a brief amount of time, and then he went to the pool and he went with his kids and he's living his life in nature. He's having a great time, and he knows that he's unlocked the key to how everyone can become free. You just got to use your imagination, and he's done it. And so, like he said, he said there's been no, this last year was not a bear market for them. He had a ton of money for his subscribers as they turned this stuff on, and all the money went into the ordinals. So good for him. It's finding out where your opportunity is, and like Craig Wright said, build build on here. And Craig Wright is in the war right now. As far as I can see, because I follow your coverage and I follow Kurt's coverage, and there's a few other gentlemen who've done. You interviewed that one gentleman who's doing a great job, blow by blow. What was his name?
Scott.
Okay, yeah, and so
Scott, three SV 369 BSV.
yeah, and I love his name 369. The Tesla resonance and the frequency that when people listen to those kind of things, I listen to those things all day long, whenever I can. Those those healing frequencies that have been hidden from us for so long. That's now you know apparently a lot of the music was recorded in 444, which is, or whatever it is, 440 or 444, whatever it was. It's not a healing frequency. And I guess all the church bells that used to be around, those were healing frequencies too. So a lot of those have been all removed. And now what you got is the 5G towers,
Hmm.
and not so much healing right there.
Well, it sounds like we've got Bitcoin SV as the future. So we all have something to people just need to get one. That way they're not lost, because we'll have 100 million satoshis in one.
Yeah, and I'm a little concerned. Like one of the, if I want to, I don't like to be negative, but I do like to raise concerns. So one of the concerns I notice is everyone here is focusing more on like privacy coins, like they're anarchists, and so they don't follow the tenet as much as I would like to see when it comes to imposing onto government a criteria where they have to be honest. They think they can just get out of government and to heck with government. And you know there has to be a governance somewhere. And so these privacy coins seek to hide identity, as opposed to a lot of people want to hide their identity, and I'm like, no, 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 you need to come out, and like that's what Craig's talking about. Like, I think what's going on with Craig is he is not going to do whatever signing or whatever until he has his evidence in that talks about who he is, whatever it is he's got, whatever he wants to see, he wants to prove, whatever
His
he's
proof
got.
package.
Is
He
that what
keeps
it's
saying
called?
the
The proof?
proof package. It's what he keeps saying.
Yeah. So in other words, and I can imagine the stress that man's under. I mean, look at him. He's dressed like cool as a cucumber every day. And, he's being accused of being can you imagine to sit there all day long and be accused of being a fraud with everything he's done? I mean, all the different uh, accomplishments he's made, all the, so to be called a fraud while you've done that, and you being recognized by all these other countries. I mean, I've got a thing here where I think it was Colombia, that they've already recognized Dr. Craig Wright as Satoshi Nakamoto. They have a formal plaque of that. And of
Well, what do
course,
you what do you think the chances are of him signing during this trial, or producing, that he can produce the possession of the keys?
I'm saying at least 50-50-50, maybe more than 50-50. And the reason is if he can get what he wants, which is to prove his identity first and not have it challenged later on. Because, he did the signing how many times already? And he did it for private individuals, and that's all being challenged now. Everything he's ever done is being challenged. But if he can get to what he needs, which is, he's been on the defensive for this first 6-7 days, which we expected, because, they put him right on the stand first. Well, now it's the other, it's one person gets to go and then the other person gets to go. So now it's his turn to put on his evidence and talk about his stuff. So I think there's a better than, I would say, at least a 65% chance that he is going to somehow, either through the watermark or through something else, show definitively that he is Satoshi. Now, if he doesn't do that and he does lose at trial, that may be might be out of his hands. But then you've got appeal.
Yeah.
So I've been saying all along, it doesn't really matter whether it's he's proved in trial that he's Satoshi or not. Why? Because Bitcoin was reborn on February 4th of 2020. Since that time, it's completely proven. It's scaled. It now works way better than it did even when I first started using it back in the day. There's all kinds of uses, and even people like SendBee, you can actually go and you can buy gift cards and you can buy stuff with it now. You can use it. And it's not just BSV, it's Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin BTC. You can use them all now to some degree. It's just what is the real Bitcoin? And the real protocol is BSV, because that's the only one that lines up with what the original white paper was, and all of the opcodes that were originally enabled that allow for micropayments, and of course to work in with the IPv6 protocol. All that is on the original Bitcoin. And BTC now, if you do BTC, it takes a couple hours for your transaction to go through, and you might pay $20 in fees. I had one guy who said he paid more than that just to get it to go through, and it still didn't go through. That reminds me of 2017, where people were paying $100 fees and still not getting it to go through.
Sounds like a lot of that is Raphael's fault for the ordinals. So,
Well, that Raphael is just he's a force unto himself, but he's got he has a group, and one of them is Daniel Krawitz. You know, Daniel Krawitz they went to school together, and they have a number of guys, and then of course now Raphael is so busy. I mean, he's hard to even get a hold of, because he's just got people, and all these people want to come up and talk to him because, you know,
very
yeah.
cool.
If you watch his speech today, and he did it at 1 o'clock Acapulco time. He came out, and he's a character from the word go. You know, he's coming out with music. He's coming out with fire and straight up like what he knows he did, and he's telling us like it's our court now. They're no longer, there's nothing they can do anymore to stop
So,
us.
how can people find that speech if they want to watch it?
So I think the easiest way is to go to anarchapulco.com, or whatever Jeff Berwick's group is. I think it's Anarchapulco, and you can sign up and watch the events that, you can become a subscriber. I think it's TDV. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
I've been a
Start at the
subscriber.
website.
You can go to the website, and then you can sign up, and you can just watch. And there's all kinds of podcasts. I was in a couple of them, but there's so many other people that are here, and they're talking about all sorts of things like
All right.
buying homes in different locations all around the world, all kinds of health type of things, how to protect yourself from government intrusion. I mean, it's just
Fascinating. Cool.
on and on across the board.
Well, before we wrap up here in the final minute here, did you have any last words? It's really good to connect with you again.
Yeah, it is.
Can't thank you enough. So yeah, anything else you wanted to add just for the last, say, 30 seconds here before we wrap?
I think, for those who haven't done something, I think now's your chance. BSV is still available for $80. It's like a second chance. It's your second chance to do something. If you're kicking yourself because you didn't do it years ago, do it now. You don't need to get a bunch. Just, get off your butt. Go to mycoinify.com, get your credit card out, and get yourself a few.
Figure
It's
it
not hard.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, just figure it out. Just join what's coming. And like, those who bought I owned one of the first cell phones, right? A big thing on it, right? And it cost me a lot of money back there, but I got to see how nice it was to be in my car and call a
Nice.
client, right, from the parking lot and say, I'm here. It's just impressive. It gets you there. So to get there, the sooner the better. But even the people that buy now are still going to be early adopters. And even
Really
though
early.
it's been around 15 years, they're still early in the game.
Thank you, Michael. Let's do it again real soon. Okay. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and keep up your good work. I know you're busy, and it's nice to be able to catch up with you again. And I'll see you when I get back.
You got it. I'll see you at the top.
Okay.